Hello, my name is Michael O'Halloran, and I'll be moderating a debate between two candidates for state representative in the 10th Middlesex District in the upcoming special election on May 10th. The 10th Middlesex District covers parts of Waltham, Newton, and Watertown. The seat was formerly held by Representative Peter Katusian, who left it vacant when he became the Middlesex County Sheriff. I'd like to welcome both candidates to WCAC and thank them for their time. They are Republican Jim Dixon, a pilot from Waltham, and Democratic candidate John Lawn, a realtor from Watertown. Here are the ground rules. I will ask the candidates questions, and they will have 2 minutes each to respond. Let's start with opening statements from Jim, who won the coin toss at the beginning of the show. Jim.
Hello, Waltham. I'm Captain Jim Dixon. I live in Waltham, and I fly airplanes. Now, we moved to Waltham in 2001. This is our city of choice. We picked it after an exhaustive search of the area, and we love Waltham. This is our new home. Our children went to Trinity Catholic High School, graduated. My son now is serving in the Navy. He's a hospital corpsman in Maryland. He has one daughter. He and his wife, Frances, have one daughter, 5 months old. My daughter is married to Brendan. They live in Bedford. We have 2 grandsons, Riley and Noah. And this is our home. This is what we want to protect going into the future. Now, I entered this race last year, ran unsuccessfully against Mr. Katusian, but I felt we needed, I needed to protect our futures. The tax rates were going up in the area. The funding for cities and communities were going down. And I felt that Beacon Hill could do better by the citizens. That's why I chose to get into this race. I thought Beacon Hill was leading us to fiscal and moral bankruptcy. I'm continuing this race because really very little has changed, and we need to bring new perspectives and new ideas to Beacon Hill. That's why I'm continuing my campaign to run.
Thank you, Jim. And now opening statements from John Lawn.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Waltham Cable for putting on this event today and for covering the state representative race in this very important race to be the next state representative for the 10th Middlesex District. I'd like to just introduce myself again. My name is John Lawn. I am the third of 6 children from John and Mary Lawn of Watertown. My parents were Irish immigrants. I went to St. Patrick's High School in Watertown, Merrimack College. I majored in political science and sociology. I then moved back to the neighborhood that I grew up in, and I bought a house in the next street. My wife Shannon and I have 5 children who attend our public schools. I have 7 nieces and nephews that attend the Waltham public schools. So I'm deeply committed to my neighborhood. I came back after college and became active in the Boys and Girls Club, became a coach. I have a background in financial services. I worked for Fidelity Investments for over 11 years before being laid off in 2002. So I have that experience of being laid off and understanding the struggles that people in the 10th Middlesex District are going through. I then opened my own small real estate business in Watertown, which I do a lot in Waltham. I've been very active in the Waltham community through Waltham Youth Hockey. My kids attended St. Jude's, through Waltham Baseball, Waltham Lacrosse. So I've been very active in the Waltham community for many years. And I appreciate the people of Waltham opening their homes to me and allowing me to come in and speak to them about the very important issues of the 10th Middlesex District. So I'm very excited to be the Democratic nominee and to continue to be an advocate as I am. I am also on the City Council in Watertown, and I have some great municipal experience and understand what we are dealing with in terms of local aid cuts and funding for our schools and our police and fire. And I feel I will be the best advocate for this community. So I ask you to vote for me, John Lawn, on May 10th. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim and John, for your opening statements. We're going to begin with a series of questions. First question is, Speaker DeLeo's municipal health insurance reform plan was recently passed at the State House. It will limit collective bargaining powers of municipal employees. Would you have voted for or against the bill, and why? Let's start with John.
Thank you. I did speak to this question last week in Newton. In Watertown, I'm serving the City Council, And throughout this race, I said that I believe in collective bargaining, and I believe that we should sit down with our unions and work out differences that we have in some of the deals that have been made through the enormous impact that the health insurance costs have caused. We in Watertown were able to negotiate with our unions, and we sat down with our unions and said that we need to work together to figure out a way to provide the basic services of keeping teachers in our classrooms, firemen and police on our streets. And we were able to come and reach concessions with our unions. So I do believe in collective bargaining, and I believe that we should work with our unions first. I understand that we have to work with our unions in order to get these concessions to make them realistic. So I wouldn't have supported Mr. DeLeo's bill. I would have asked to try to work with our unions first and try to come to concessions and come to be able to make make progress in terms of collective bargaining, because we don't want to see what happened in Wisconsin, and we want to be able to respect the rights of union workers and why unions were created.
Thank you. Jim Dixon.
Well, I'm in a union as well, and I believe in collective bargaining, but we have to have a series of processes where we can negotiate, and it's up to the city councilors and the management to manage the budget. And when you have to be able to set proper guidelines. And in my union, collective bargaining does not pertain to the health plans that we have. It's a benefit provided by the company. And I think the cities and towns should be able to provide health care, but they should be able to designate this is the cost that they have. If unions or public workers have that power to control the cost of it, then the hands are tied of the municipalities, and I don't think that's a good. I would have voted for the plan. I think it's good that the cities could rein in the costs of their programs and have control over their finances.
Okay, thank you. Next question. State projects like the Connors Pool and the Winter Street Bridge here in Waltham has faced long delays, inviting criticism from the public. Firstly, what do you think is the reason why they've taken so long? And secondly, do you believe you have what it takes to see such projects through to completion? Let's start this time around with Jim Dixon.
The Connors Pool, when it closed down, that was the year we moved here, and I remember seeing water in it the first part of August, and then it closed down right when it was starting to get hot. And I thought that was a travesty. And then for it to be closed for 10 years, now going on 11 years, and probably indefinitely now with the findings of the PCBs. Early on, the DCR and the city should have coordinated something to either take control, do something to then let it just sit and wallow. And I think we could work with I could work with the different communities and the DCR to get something resolved, so that we're not sitting there with nothing for our communities. A whole decade of children have been denied this oasis in the summertime. The Winter Street Bridge has been under construction since we've lived here. It's just ongoing. I know that there's problems that can be had with construction, but to let this linger on indefinitely, we need to work with the state senate and the other representative in Waltham to get this resolved. This is if the state can't do it, then we need to go to private contractors or whatever to get this bridge completed.
John Long.
Thank you. I am someone who has been working in municipal government and has run a project. I ran as chairman of the $15.3 million project of the new police facility in Watertown. It's a project that came in $600,000 under budget, and we dealt with these issues of contamination and asbestos removal, but it's one of the first things that we've done. So this is a project that I would be able to just come in with firsthand experience of what it takes to run a project and what it takes to move it along, and also dealing with the municipal bid laws that are very strict, because you can't go get private contractors. You have to pay prevailing wages. So you cannot just go out and do that. And I feel that I am the person with the most the most experience doing that type of a project, and having been through that, I worked on this project for over 5 years, the new police facility in Watertown. So those PCBs that were found at the Connors Pools is something that should have been cut off early, and I think that I will be able to pick up the ball, work at the State House level, work with Tom Stanley. I've already spoken with Tom Stanley about this project and trying to move it forward. So I grew up at attending the MDC pool in Watertown, and it was a great place for kids who couldn't get away for the summer. We didn't come from a family that was able to have a summer home. So we spent a lot of time at the MDC pool in Watertown. So I know what a treasure it is for a community, and certainly the south side of Waltham, and kids that can access that pool. So that's something that I would fight for right off the bat, and I would work with our local legislation. I would work with our mayor and our city council, who's done an awful lot to bring that project forward, Peter Katusian and Tom Stanley, and also Gary Marchese, who's the city ward councilor, who did a great job of trying to get this project going. So I'd work with all of them. I have this experience in working on a large project and seeing it to fruition, and I did resolve these things and these kinds of problems that come up. So I think I'd be the best advocate for the Connors Pool, and hopefully that gets open very soon.
Thank you. Okay, now a question that's on everybody's mind, not only locally but throughout the country, is the economy and about raising revenue. Here in Waltham, Representative Tom Stanley has backed an initiative to add 5-cent deposit on plastic bottles for water, juices, and other non-carbonated beverages. Those beverages now constitute a significant percentage of all beverages sold. This measure would bring revenue to the state and minimize the number of plastic containers that end up in our landfills and green spaces. Where do you stand on this issue? And this time let's start with John Long.
Thank you. When the water bill first came out in 1982, it did not encompass, and was bottled water, sport juice box, and other drinks that have come out. So this bill now, as we see on our streets and sidewalks, a lot of water bottles that are littering our streets and sidewalks. This is a bill that I would be for, expanding the bottle bill. It would bring probably close to estimates of $20 million of revenue to the state. It would also help clean up our cities and streets. So this is something I would support. There's a recent poll saying that 77% of Massachusetts residents support the expanded bottle bill. So this is something that I would be in favor for, and I would vote with Tom Stanley because I think it is a new revenue initiative that we should look at. Jim.
I'm all for recycling. I've recycled my whole life with paper drives when I was at Boy Scouts. And I'm all for keep getting litter off the street, and it is a problem that we do have all these bottles. Just I'm always constantly picking up trash in my front yard, and a lot of them are these water bottles. I am for the water bill. However, we have to look at it and make sure that it is cost effective, and that the recyclers who stand to gain from this are not shorted. I think recently, when they first addressed this a couple of years ago, that the recyclers were complaining that they would lose money on this deal, and that has to be addressed before we go forward with this. And we have to be able to look and see the cost effectiveness of the water bill. I'm all for recycling. I don't think a 5-cent deposit on these bottles is overbearing on the consumer or the recycler.
Thank you. John and Jim, you've both been busy campaigning throughout this district. What issues stand out for the residents that you have talked to? Let's start with Jim.
The taxes and the cost of living here in Massachusetts, the Beacon Hill just seems reluctant to address the real issues that we need to bring jobs back into the state, and because of the tax structure that we have here in Massachusetts, businesses can't make a profit, so they're leaving the state. We're down a congressman because of the population decline in Massachusetts. The taxes, we have to address the project labor agreements we have and the prevailing wages. They just drive up the cost of government, and we need to look at ways to cut the fat out of the government. We have a lot of duplication, a lot of wasteful spending, and we need to reduce the cost of government so that we can set a fair tax rate for not just the income tax rate, but for the corporate tax rates, so that they can come in, bring jobs back in, bring revenue into the state, not just through tax, but through the economy and the ancillary effects of bringing business and manufacturing. And that's what I'm for. We need to relax some of the regulations on businesses. We need to set a fair tax rate for our citizens, and so that we can afford to live here.
John.
Great. The biggest issue that I found with residents of the 10th Middlesex District is job creation. We have a lot of people who have been laid off, a lot of people out of work, struggling to make their monthly payments. This is something that I have experience with. I've lived through it myself, and I think more people on Beacon Hill need to realize what it's like to go through being laid off and having a mortgage payment and car payments and child care payments. So this is something that I think is resounding throughout the district, that people are just concerned about their jobs. People who are out of jobs trying to find their way back into the workforce. We also have seen the wasteful spending in Beacon Hill, and we've seen the probation department have an enormous budget and a lot of patronage that was going on. And I think one good thing that's come out of this economy in the state the last few years is that we've got to break this back down to the basic services that we've been providing to our citizens, and we really need to be careful on how we're spending money. Being on the City Council is a great training ground to realize how we're affected from the state and what local aid cuts mean. So all of these basic services that are affected by local aid is things that we really need to be concerned about, and that's what people throughout this district have been concerned about.
Thank you. Gentlemen, you both have been chosen as your party's nominee, and you're well aware that an overwhelming percentage of the district lies right here in Waltham. And traditionally, the winner of the seat has, in fact, come from Waltham. John, you're from Watertown, and you represent roughly 7% of the district. And Jim, you live here in Waltham, but as you stated earlier, you're originally from another state, and from a party that has never won the seat. How will both of you be an independent voice representing all of the people of the 10th Middlesex district? Let's start with John.
I will be an independent voice. I feel I have the experience of being a city council and understanding the needs of education, of funding for our police and fire. I have, as I said, 7 nieces and nephews who will attend the Waltham Public Schools. I have a deep commitment to Waltham, having my children go to St. Jude's, going through a lot of the programs in Waltham through sports, and having a lot of friends who I grew up with in Watertown that moved to Waltham. I think that gives me a broad sense of this community, and I have been welcomed very highly, I think, in this community, because they understand that I have deep passion to see this city succeed. And also, my own hometown, I've been very involved in Watertown and with the City Council and volunteering for the Boys Club. I also have deep relationships in Newton with the City Council. I've worked with Scott Lennon on major issues with the Charles River Path and keeping it clear, and working with Peter Katusian's office. So I've worked with all the city councils. I've worked over the years with Mayor McCarthy on some issues with the Gore Estate development. So I have things that happen in one community affect other communities. So I think this seat really is something that is really about neighborhoods and about we're really all close together. We're in a very densely populated area, and I'm someone that really understands that because I've been here my whole life.
Jim.
And I think that's some of the problems, that we have this good old boy network that's hard to get through and get new ideas and new perspectives into the communities. And 70% of the district is in Waltham. I live in Waltham. I've lived here for 10 years. I think that's enough time to know what the issues are in Waltham. I'm concerned about what the state is doing with the Fernald School, the other issues like the Connors Pool. I've labeled Waltham the city, the forgotten city on Beacon Hill. It's just the issues, the cities and communities constantly underfunded by the state. I see Waltham as a well-managed city that is constantly being hampered by the effects of state government, and how the cities and communities and the people in the district are just constantly having to appeal to the state and not getting any relief. And that's why I'm running. I love this city. I'm looking forward to going to the senior center when it's just a couple of blocks away from my house. And it's got so many good things to it, and I just don't like what the government is doing in this good old boy network of where it's hard to get any thing taken care of, and changes made that need to be made here in Waltham, and also with Newton and Watertown. A lot of the predominantly in those sections, the precincts, they're homeowners and residential areas, and that's who I'm going to represent. I want to represent the taxpayer, the homeowners, the people that are paying the bills here in the state.
Thank you. The turnout for the primary election on April 12th was very low. Nationwide, we're all well aware that there is criticism about politics has reached new heights. What do you say to people who just don't care about politics or politicians? Let's start with Jim.
Well, tongue in cheek, last year when I first started running, I said, you know, if I've been complaining about the government so long, if I'm not going to do anything about it, I might as well quit running. And I mean, I might as well quit complaining. Excuse me. And I hear that a lot. People say, well, what can we do? How can you fight Beacon Hill? How can you fight City Hall? Well, we can. We do it with our votes. We can change our government by getting out and participating, and that's why I've come forward. I'm a citizen. I believe in the citizen government concept that the United States has adopted. I believe that we don't need a ruling aristocracy, a class of people that are constantly in government. I like to see a rotation. We have all these schools of government here in Massachusetts and graduates of political science government, and to have just a select few of people continually running the state, we need new ideas and perspectives. And that's why I'm running, to bring those ideas forward and not just become stale and a tunnel vision that is evolved from this one-party government that we have in the state.
Thank you. John.
Hi. So I am running, and I think that people sometimes just don't get involved in local politics, but this is an important race, and I'm really trying to bring out that awareness and going door to door throughout the district. I've knocked on almost every door that I could over this short race throughout Newton, Waltham, and Watertown. In my home precinct, where I'm a district council in Watertown, I did have a strong turnout and a very favorable showing because I have been responsive to my neighborhood. I have worked hard to represent them, and I think that is a true reflection of the voters in my area and also the strong support I got in Waltham and Newton. So I think from my track record is to be responsive and to listen and to solve problems and to work with others. I understand that nothing gets accomplished without working with others. Being on the city council has been a great training ground to realize that you cannot do anything alone. You need to work with others, and you need to get your ideas with others and try to come out to a good solution. So I will do that, and I have a track record of doing that. I have the support of a lot of the city councils in Waltham. I've been working also throughout this with Tom Stanley on the ideas and things that he's bringing forward about the Fernald School and the concerns that we have there. So nothing gets accomplished without teamwork, and I understand that. So the voters of this district, I hope they come out and vote. It's important to be engaged in your community and to be able to express that vote, and I hope you do that on May 10th.
Thank you. Currently, when someone is arrested, their fingerprints are sent to the FBI. Secure Communities is a controversial federal program that would share those fingerprints with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE as we know it. ICE could then deport dangerous felons living in the country illegally. 2 weeks ago, state officials heard loud arguments for and against Secure Communities during a public meeting right here in Waltham. Should Massachusetts embrace such a program? Let's start with Jim.
Absolutely. The illegal aliens that come into our country, they're not only breaking immigration laws, they're breaking labor laws, housing laws, traffic laws. We need to get them off the street. We attend St. Mary's Church, and there's a big Hispanic community there. I've talked with people in there that time and again, these are people that come in, they're legal immigrants. They're trying to make start here a new life in America, but they have to compete with the illegal immigrants that are being paid under the table. They have competing for the same jobs. They can't start a business. If they start a business, they have to compete with other businesses that are hiring illegal immigrants. We need to reinforce our borders, and we need to get the illegal immigrants on a level playing field with the regular workers in the United States. And here in Massachusetts, they're driving down our economy. They're not contributing, and first of all, if they're arrested, they should be tracked. They should be documented, and if they are arrested and find out that they are illegal, they should be deported.
Thank you. John?
I agree. I agree that through this ICE and the developments they're doing across the country to try to enforce violent illegal immigrants, they should be deported. Anyone who does a violent crime who is not a citizen of the United States, they'd certainly be in prison here, but they should not be allowed to be in this country if they're committing crimes and they're illegal. So I would agree.
Okay, gentlemen, we're coming to a close, and I would like to invite each of you to start off with a 1-minute closing statement, and we're going to start with John Lawn.
Great. Well, again, thank you, Waltham, and I appreciate the opportunity to try to represent you as the 10th Middlesex District State Representative. As a coach, as a father, as a husband, as a brother, as a town councilor, I have the experience of being in our community and working to try to make our community a better place to live and work. I have been through a lot personally, working in different fields. As I said, I had the experience of being laid off, as to the experience of opening a small business, and I understand the challenges that go on in that. And so I ask you to please vote for John Lawn on May 10th. I'm someone that will represent this district well. I will work hard, I will listen, and I will be responsive to the needs, and because I care about these communities, and I think I'm the most experienced and representative of this area. Thank you.
Thank you. And closing statement for 1 minute from Jim Dixon.
I'm the 7th of 9 children, and I know what it means to have to work in cooperation with others. I've been in leadership positions my entire career. I was a Navy pilot, and as a Navy pilot, I was entrusted with high-performance military aircraft. As an airline captain, I'm entrusted with hundreds of lives at a time. We need to restore the trust and confidence in Beacon Hill. I hope that you will put your trust in me and vote for Jim Dixon on May 10th. And I'm Captain Jim Dixon, and I'm here to pilot Massachusetts to a brighter future. Thank you.
John comes from 6 children. Jim, you come from 9. I come from 6. There's 21 between us.
Yeah.
I think that's a voting block in itself. Gentlemen, we've run out of time, and would like to thank you both for participating in today's debate. For all of the crew and the staff at this wonderful Waltham Community Access Corporation, I'm Michael O'Halloran, and just a final reminder about the election. It's on Tuesday, May 10th, and only those in the 10th Middlesex District may vote. If you want to know whether you live within the district, you can call the Waltham City Clerk, Russ Malone, at 781-314-3120. Thank you.